Well, Ryan, there are a lot of people around the league who do agree with Jermichael Finley that just believe Aaron Rodgers does not want to be there. And even if he shows up, he ain't going to be happy about it. And he is going to stretch this out, make it quite awkward when he does, whether it's at the beginning of camp, later on, closer to week 1. And one source said, I do not think right now the Green Bay Packers can make Aaron Rodgers happy. And that's the biggest problem. Now, they're still not trading Aaron Rodgers. They would have to be absolutely blown away by an offer to even look at it. Right now, and for months, they simply have not been looking. Packers do have a shareholders meeting on Monday. They're a publicly owned company. Things could get mighty interesting. Perhaps Rodgers will wait to reveal his plans until after that meeting.
Oh, how I would love to be in that shareholders meeting. So, RC, which side has the leverage in this scenario if you're looking at Aaron Rodgers versus the Green Bay Packers?
I mean, right now, we're just going to talk about literal leverage. And I hate to come on this show and be literal. I actually just enjoy making up scenarios. But in this scenario, the Green Bay Packers have the leverage because the contract says that right now, Aaron Rodgers can't go anywhere unless the Green Bay Packers move them. And so what they have to play against is Aaron Rodgers' willingness to sit at home and not play. His willingness to know that he was at the top of the game last year, has an opportunity to repeat that performance with many of the same characters, and for him to say, you know what? Nope, I just don't want to do it. And think about relationships, guys. Think about when someone in a relationship is scoring. It's not always that they want to come out and do great. It's that they want to see you do bad. Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to come there and make it awkward for people because you know what? Even if Aaron Rodgers walks around and refuses to talk to GM Brian Gutekunst, it doesn't matter as long as he goes out and play. I will take the silent treatment if you do all the stuff that I want you to do. Aaron Rodgers knows that. So it's only going to be sitting at home that helps him. Now, what you hope is maybe Aaron Rodgers sits at home for 3 weeks, the Green Bay Packers stinks, and he realizes I can be the savior. Now everybody else knows that everybody in the building but me is wrong. But until that happens, I don't see Aaron Rodgers playing. So Green Bay, you can have all the leverage you want, but leverage means nothing if you ain't winning no football games.
Okay, but still, Rob, Aaron Rodgers has to respond to a fan base that he's also trying to appeal to at the same time. So who do you think is under the most pressure in this situation?
It's got to be the Packers. It's got to be Matt LaFleur, because if Aaron Rodgers is not in that building, well, guess what? Your draft pick that you took to probably maybe upset him a little bit is going to be your starting quarterback. So when you have Aaron Rodgers on your team, it probably just makes things a little bit easier. You come in, you install your offense. You're like, yeah, this is a great play, but we have Aaron Rodgers. It's always going to work. Well, when you have an untested quarterback, a young quarterback, now you have to coach. Now you have to be a great coach. Now you have to make sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted. So I think Aaron Rodgers, really honestly, he's like the backside of a pillow. He's just cool and collected, right? He's just, all right, let's see how they do. Let's see how their young quarterback can go out there and can he win football games like we know I can? Can he play at the MVP level? So I think it goes back to Green Bay and the head coach. They're probably a little bit nervous right now, if you're asking me, on who has the most pressure. It would be them, definitely.
Yeah, I think they're a lot nervous at this point, especially when you got your best player talking about our GM and he's talking about the basketball team's GM. All right. Now let's talk about the top pick from last year. Staying with football, staying with the quarterback, staying with Joe Burrow. He got off to a strong start in his rookie season before suffering a torn ACL. Now, with Burrow set to lead Cincinnati this season, one of his Bengals teammates believes he resembles the guy that we were just talking about. You know what I say about Joe Burrow, man? That's like baby Aaron. I've been saying this since I got there. I see a lot of similarities between the two. You talk Who Dey Nation, man, they're going to let you know. Joe Burrow is the savior, man. He really is to this organization. He told that to Good Morning Football. So I bring our guys back in because this is really an interesting comparison. You don't make comparisons to Aaron Rodgers lightly. So, Nick, you hear Daniels there. Is baby Aaron Rodgers a fair comparison for Joe Burrow?
I mean, this might be a little bit early. Come on now. Like, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame football player. But We love what we saw before he tore his ACL. I think that he would have had one of the best. He might have been rookie of the year. We don't know. I mean, we have no clue on how he would have finished if he never tore his ACL. So I love what he has done so far. He's done a great job up until he had that injury, which you can't control. Some things are out of your control. Now, him bouncing back from the injury, I think sky's the limit, honestly, for where he can be. Now it's up to him to go out there and to go play at a high level again. But, it's a little too early to go out there and start throwing, Aaron Rodgers' name in the mix. But I would say that what we saw before his injury was very impressive.
Okay, RC, baby Aaron, Joe Burrow, what do you think?
Well, here's what I'm going to say. Aaron Rodgers has one of those arms and some of that arm talent that is very, very transcendent, right? It's generational. When we watched Aaron Rodgers throw a football, it didn't look that way again until we saw Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not sure it looked that way before. So let's get that out of the way. I don't think he has that type of arm talent. Here's what I will say. I'm going to put my LSU hat on. Joe Burrow's junior year, when he transferred from Ohio State, I was not a Joe Burrow fan. Here's why. I thought Joe Burrow was supremely confident. I thought Joe Burrow was borderline arrogant. I thought he had a belief in himself that seemed superhuman and outer-worldly. And at that time, he had thrown 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And to me, a Tiger fan, a Tiger alum, a former Tiger football player, I was like, you can't act like that if you ain't show like that. And then 2019 came, and he threw 60 tubs. And I was like, you know what? That's my teammate. That's my quarterback, right? Because he does have that type of attitude. He does have that type of confidence. He does have that type of command. And I think that's more of what Daniels is speaking to, even beyond the actual arm talent. We know that the things Aaron Rodgers can do from the quarterback position, in the pocket, outside of the pocket, are just different. Neek said it. He's a Hall of Famer. We don't know if Joe Burrow reaches that point. But some of the intangibles, some of the things that he has inside, some of the ways he thinks, the ways he feels about himself, his love for the game is on that Hall of Fame level at a very young age. This was a dude that was beyond mature when it came to being a quarterback at LSU, a dude that would sit by himself in the cafeteria because he wanted to study. You can't teach that. You can't teach that level of want to win. And so in that sense, Aaron Rodgers may not even be as special as Joe Burrow is when it comes to some of those things.
Okay, so Jeremy, like it or not, Joe Burrow was in the same draft class as Justin Herbert. So even though we don't always want to compare the two, we want guys to stand on their own, we can't help ourselves. So what's the league saying about these two second-year quarterbacks?
Well, this is so close because so many teams, myself included, love Joe Burrow's toughness. But Justin Herbert is set up for success. RC mentioned otherworldly arm talent. This guy has that. He's the prototype. He's built like Megatron, 6'6", running around. He's been compared to me as a more accurate Josh Allen, just a little more slender. So they have that in place in Los Angeles for the next 10-plus years. He's got a better supporting cast. He's got receivers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, a ton of running backs, a better offensive line. Joe Burrow coming off the knee injury. I think he's going to maybe start a little slow. That offensive line, still I'm not convinced that they're going to be a major upgrade just yet. But by the end of the year, Joe Burrow will be a top 10 passer in this league.
Oh, wow. Big proclamation there. Okay, let's go to a little more or less and keep it on our man Joe Burrow. RC, more or less than 26 touchdown passes. I feel like it should be higher, but what do you think about that?
Listen, I like that they just keep giving me these alley-oops and I'm going to dunk it like Giannis. This is more. I mean, who threw the football more than Joe Burrow before he was injured last year, and that was his rookie year? And now you add Jamar Chase to this mix. T. Higgins was huge last year as a rookie as well. Joe Burrow eclipses this, and I think he has a monster year coming back from injury.
Especially if he stays healthy. Rob, more or less than 29 touchdowns for Justin Herbert.
I'm going to go with more. Look, last year, I think that he surpassed and surprised a lot of people. So why not make another jump in your second year? I think we've been saying more this whole show, but guess what? They have put rules in place to help the quarterbacks throw touchdown passes. So he's going to throw more.
Okay, you guys have been slamming our touchdown numbers all show. Now we're going to make it tough. RC, more or less than 24 touchdown passes for Tua.
See, here it's going to come. RC and the Alabama hate, but less. I think it's going to be less. Listen, I think Tua understands that he's going to have to come out and protect the football. He knows that he's going to have a top-level defense under Flores. And so in saying that and in knowing that, he's going to do the smart things with the football. He's going to take the check down. He's not going to force the ball into bad positions, but it's also going to keep him from creating explosive plays. Less for Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay, and Rob, we'll give you your toughest one. More or less than 21 touchdown passes for Jalen Hurts.
Ooh, I'm not going to have fans on this one. I'm going to say less. And I say that because, look, a lot of pressure is going to be on him to go out there and not only throw the ball well, but he's going to have to run the football too. And sometimes when you're a quarterback and you're in those positions, you can get beat up. So my reasoning for saying less is